How's it going, everyone? Today we're going to talk about banks. Are they colluding against fossil fuels? Are they colluding to be anti-money, anti-profit, and anti the citizens that they're supposed to serve? So apparently, some attorney generals think that they are colluding, and they're colluding against the citizens. So that's pretty interesting. Let's get into it. So this idea comes from a coalition of 19 state attorney generals, okay, from across the country, after they launched a formal investigation into 6 major US banks last week, citing legal concerns about ESG investing. An unnamed attorney general is quoted as saying that the banks appear to be colluding with the United Nations to destroy American companies and undermine the nation's best interests, which in this case would involve oil, gas, energy, fossil fuels, essentially. Of course, fossil fuels have a lot to do with infrastructure. So if they are suspected of colluding to be anti-American companies in terms of fossil fuels, they're essentially hurting the citizenry, the citizens of the United States. Part of the argument that they're using against the banks is consumer protection laws. Basically, they're meant to protect citizens in their states from potentially illegal activity by different companies. So in particular, these AGs are really interested in looking into these banks, these 6 major banks, their involvement in something called, and this is controversial by the way, something called the United Nations Net Zero Banking Alliance, NZBA. So this global network of banks, they're overseen by United Nations, and they've pledged to eliminate emissions of greenhouse gases by 2050. How do they do this? Well, the idea is by transforming, their lending and investment practices. So in their point of view, these AGs, what they're saying is that the UN's involvement in targeting key American industries, especially regarding fossil fuels, they're ceding policy making influence to a global organization that does not have the private citizens of the United States in their best interest, It's not in their best interest. So what they see is a methodology used by these banks, these 6 major banks, of basically starving key industries regarding fossil fuels of credit, which this will especially affect companies in the energy agricultural sectors that are critical. These are critical, according to the AGs, to the prosperity and even the national security of the United States. And obviously, we're seeing major repercussions of this energy crisis, oil and gas, etc. I mean, it's so bad to the point where the current president, goes to Saudi Arabia, fist bumps, tries to get more oil, and then it's denied. If you care to know the name of the banks, this is the list here. You got Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, and Citigroup. So the AGs, they serve these 6 banks with subpoenas, and they're demanding that they turn over any kind of documents relating to their involvement in the United Nations NZBA, that again is the Net Zero Banking Alliance. So they want to know how these decisions are being made. How is it affecting essentially their business? How is it affecting their civil engagement with the citizenry or the companies? And how these United Nations backed agendas are being incorporated, just generally speaking, in their business. They also want to know how the CEOs are implementing these and what is their involvement. Now, just as a reminder, the ESG, environmental social governance, these are the initiatives taken on by these banks. They're basically using different metrics, the traditional metrics of risk and return, right? ROI, they're being replaced by considerations on, of course, environmental and social policies in making generally big kind of business decisions. And they're given a score of how their investment portfolios match up with the ESG protocols to add to the agenda. Some of the AGs are interpreting the ESG as political moves, and that's where all the fighting ends up, happening essentially. So for example, this AG from Montana, he says that there are corporations, banking corporation, investment industry, experts or big shots trying to flex their muscle and pressure businesses into a sort of political direction, one way or another. And he says that's not their function. Their job is to provide credit to American companies and earn a profit for shareholders. The Montana AG continues on, and he is pissed. He says that everything is on the table, depending on the outcome of these investigations. And under consumer protection laws, the state has the authority to level civil fines. Now, he also said that the effects of these banking policies are hurting numerous legal industries, and that's what he's upset about because they're being cut off of legal credit. He went on to point like firearm businesses as an example of those being pinched by this credit squeeze, and also even insurance companies. Now we understand that these guys, these state AGs, they're basically trying to protect the interests of their own state. So Oklahoma is an example. The AG in Oklahoma, he said that those banks are attacking Oklahoma fossil fuel producers, and consumers, as well as Oklahoma jobs. And he also went on to say that America is not run by the United Nations. And that's pretty interesting that they're using AGs as a defense mechanism. Another example is the AG in Missouri. He claims that this even goes as far as affecting Missouri farmers. He's also went on to say that oil leasing companies and other businesses that are vital to the economy of the state are unable to access these loans, these credit lines, because of this allegiance. You guys are not aware, there's actually a number of states that have divested their investment from BlackRock over these ESG policies because it hurts them in the end. So how can they support a certain investment firm if that investment firm is hurting the state in general? So Missouri, for example, they withdrew $500 million of pension fund investments. And these people, they see themselves as suffering from these policies. What's crazy is in just this past August, a coalition of state AGs, they even warned BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, who's also on the board of the World Economic Forum and the powerful Council on Foreign Relations. Guess what? They warned him, these AGs, they warned Larry Fink, probably a very powerful CEO, one of the most powerful CEOs in the United States, if not the world. They warned him that his company's policies may be completely illegal. Now, Bloomberg reports that Larry Fink is not going to be at the upcoming UN conference, and part of that might be because of these threats from the AGs, that they see this collusion. One Bloomberg reporter is quoted as saying, with more than 135 trillion in assets, the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero was supposed to be the planet's ticket to a more climate-friendly form of finance. But a year later, it's unclear how members will live up to their promises. So, who's in the right? I don't know. We should all save the planet, right? But what way, what method do we do it in? And does it hurt certain economies, certain people's jobs? That's the danger, of course. Anyways, I will keep an eye out on this. I do find it interesting and kind of very important to what's going to happen in the future, especially with these ESG scores happening all over the place. So thanks for watching, guys. Smash like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.